What is that one book that absolutely changed your life?
Probably Redwall, because it got me into reading as a child, and later writing.
A Brief History of Time. The insanity and complexity of the universe was explained in understandable terms. Bonkers.
There is a monster at the end of this book. It really led me on a journey to overcome my fears and deeply examine what it means to be a monster. Also, pulling really hard against Grover to turn the pages helped me get buff. Really, I was helping Grover face fears he was not ready to face. But we faced them together.
The Easy Way to Stop Smoking by Alan Carr. I had zero intention to stop smoking when I started reading that book. To say I was skeptical about it would be an understatement. I was a heavy chain smoker. Smoked more than anyone I knew. But I went cold turkey after I read it. 3 years strong. I have not had a single puff since finishing that book. If you smoke, you want to read this book now. I wish I read it earlier. Edit. Just wanted to plug No Smoke for those who want support or information about stopping smoking.
Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut. The things other people have put into my head, at any rate, do not fit together nicely, are often useless and ugly, are out of proportion with one another, are out of proportion with life as it really is outside my head.
Dune. Fear is the mind killer. Also, A Wrinkle in Time.
Where the Red Fern Grows. It still has the best imagery of any book I've ever read. A must-read for dog lovers.
The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. When I was 18. I didn't go to high school for reasons, and this book made me go get my high school degree and go to college because I wanted to become a journalist because of that book. I graduated college last month.
The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Got me back into reading after 5 years without picking up a book, and then later inspired me to become a self-published author.
Mouse, the first and only graphic novel to win a Pulitzer Prize. Edit. It is a book about a second-generation survivor of the Holocaust retelling his father's memoirs of the event. This semi-biographic book puts into perspective the whole feeling of absolute terror and gives us an insight on the before-after situation. The Jews are portrayed as mouses and the Nazis as cats, elaborating on the whole cat and mouse chase premise, which demonstrates the horrors the Jewish felt. Although it is a graphic novel, its images do really say more than words. It is to this day the only book which has made me cry and feel hurt. It makes the whole subject feel very personal.
The End of Mr. Y. My ex-partner threw it at my face during an argument and knocked down and burst my forehead. So I left her and totally changed my ambitions in life. Kinda funny. Sometimes I see that book and scowl, and wonder what people think is going on.
Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. An incredible sci-fi book that was written in the 80s and is a mix of apocalypse fiction, sociopolitical critique and resilience. Completely changed my worldview and put me on the path to sustainable off-grid living, which I'm really grateful for. Edit. I also equally love the sequel Parable of the Talents, and there's an amazing podcast called Octavia's Parables that came out last year which goes through each chapter of the book. I recommend it for anyone thinking about starting the book or rereading it. It's like being in a book club that goes at your own pace. Smiley face.
Thinking Fast and Slow. I had no idea how my over-reliance on my intuition was impacting my ability to think through tough problems. It has forever changed the way I look at the world.
The Hobbit. As a young child, I had always found reading to be pretty dull. This changed when I was 7 and got my hands on The Hobbit. I realized that it wasn't reading that was boring. I just wasn't reading the right books. The Hobbit started my lifelong love of reading, particularly fantasy and sci-fi, a passion that I am now following as a writer.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy got me into reading.
Where the Red Fern Grows beat me up as a kid.
The Giver. I remember reading that book in 6th or 7th grade and just being blown away. I had never experienced a book like that before, and it really had a huge impact on me. I'd also say the Harry Potter series, because as a young kind reading those books I really felt like I was escaping into this magical world.
Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. This book is all-inspiring and makes you reconsider everything you have ever learned. To edit. I would be in favor of restarting an Ishmael sub.
When I was 13 years old, I had a long school bus ride home from school, almost an hour long, and would pass the time by reading. One day I was in the library frantic for something because I had no book, and picked out an astronomy one that was called From the Big Bang to Planet X by Terence Dickinson, and had a fetching picture of the Andromeda Galaxy on its cover. That book, Wow, I was completely enchanted about outer space, and by the time I was done reading it I knew I wanted to be an astronomer. I remember thinking at the time how fantastical it was that people could have that job, but anyone who was an astronomer was 13 once and this was a thing you could do, even if you lived in Pittsburgh. Anyway, that was over 20 years ago, and there were many twists and turns along the way, but I'm now 2 years into working as a professional astronomer at Harvard. I just submitted a paper last week on a black hole that ripped apart a star, which was super fun to work on, and I couldn't help but think a lot about how excited 13-year-old me would be to see how it's going. I don't know if she would have believed it.
1984 Orwell.
Discrete Mathematics 4th edition. Never wanted to end my life so quickly. Edit. Wow, thanks for the award. IDRK what it means, but thanks.
The Long Walk by Stephen King. Greatly shows the variety of lives and some lessons about the life itself.
The Kite Runner, completely eye-opening, and an emotional roller coaster.
The Phantom Tollbooth. I reread it after hearing that Norton Juster passed. It may have resonated more with me at 32 years old than reading it as a child.
Harry Potter. Read the first book when I was 10, and I remember praying so hard for God to let me go to Hogwarts. My kid logic. If God was real, then so was magic, right?
Brave New World. I think it paints such a more complex and all-encompassing picture of a dystopian society than 1984 did.
Python for Beginners smiley face.
Flowers for Algernon. I read it as a teenager, and it made me realize that my intelligence was a privilege, and that it didn't make me better than people who are less intelligent than me.
Neuromancer. It somehow gave me hope. Might have been at a low point in my life, I really can't say. But I started collecting books again, reading more, and I put up with way less beep from people. There's got to be a reason somewhere, so I'm giving credit to William Gibson.
The body keeps the score. Mind, brain and body in the transformation of trauma. If only more mental health care specialists read this book. If only more _doctors read it. If only more people understood the ripples of intergenerational trauma and abuse.
The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales.
To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee.
Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse made me rethink the nature of religion.
The Road. I read it before and after becoming a father. Drastically different experiences. And the World According to Garp. I read it when I was a kid, and it was the first novel that made me laugh out loud and come close to crying in the same book.
My Side of the Mountain. I was young and have always camped and loved the outdoors, still do, but this book had such an exciting story. It's about a boy who runs away from home and plans to live in the wild on his own. He goes to a library and checks out a bunch of books on survival and lives in the forest. He even burns the base of a large tree and hollows it out and makes a living space inside. It's a super easy read, but I loved every page.
Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl.
The Stranger by Albert Camus. It was the first time I identified with a character. I was 17 and I had read lots of books by that point, and I could really see myself in Meursault. I read it in school, and we had a discussion after everyone finished the book. I already knew I wasn't exactly normal, but hearing everyone's reactions was eye-opening. He's a monster. He doesn't care about anything or anyone. He doesn't have any empathy. He doesn't feel any emotions, and so on. I had already realized that I couldn't say what I was truly thinking in order to blend with everybody else, but that book made me realize that not only would people never understand me, but they would certainly not accept me that way I am, even if I tried to explain the way I think.
The Dark Tower series. Those books helped me escape during some trying times.
Ender's Game for sure. It was just mind-blowing to my little 10-year-old self.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.